Welcome back to Podcast Recovery, everyone. We're your hosts, David O.
And Carly R.
Today we are joined by our very special guest, Dawn. How are you doing today?
I am great. Thanks for inviting me.
Absolutely. Where are you from, Dawn?
I'm in Chico, California, so northern California.
Oh, wow. Nice. Well, when were you first introduced to recovery?
My grandmother got sober when I was young, and she was a terrible, terrible mother, but she was a great grandmother. And I went to meetings with her when I was little. That's how I was introduced to recovery.
Oh, nice. And how long have you been sober?
I just celebrated 29 years.
Fantastic. Congratulations. And with all that out of the way, we're going to turn it over to you to share your story with us, so take it away.
Thank you. My name is Dawn, and I identify as an alcoholic. I've been clean and sober since October 27th, 1992. I had the good fortune of getting sober in San Francisco, so I had tons of meetings available to me, which I needed. And I was 22 when I got sober. So
Youngin'.
What's that?
You were young.
I was young, but I've exceeded my lifetime quota of alcohol consumption already. But I had lots of very interesting people around me when I first got sober, like, young and old and queer and freaky and tattooed, and just all of the strange that I needed to keep me interested. Because I was kind of wild, and I went to meetings with my grandmother when I was younger, but those were not my people. And so I needed to be someplace where I felt like a part of. So it was great to get sober in San Francisco. Excuse me. I don't think it's a requirement to have a really fucked up childhood to be an alcoholic, but that was the case for me. And a lot of really bad things happened to me, and my family was kind of a wreck. There's drug and alcohol abuse on both sides all the way back as far as anybody can remember. So my family of origin didn't have all the best parenting skills, and they were drinking and using themselves. And so things were scary and bad. And as soon as I could get a hold of a way to check out, I did. And I think I started smoking pot because it was easier to get.
Mm-hmm.
But I do remember
that's the California way to do it.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah. I think my first drink was probably, without stealing my parents' stuff, my first drink was probably warm beer on the railroad tracks with a girl that I had a crush on. Yeah. So, warm beer on the railroad tracks. That's important too. And I felt better in my body. And then it kind of went from there. I'm a vomiter. I like to projectile vomit. Well, I don't know if I like to.
Yeah.
That's the natural order of things.
Mm-hmm.
And a drunk driver. And I'm really grateful that, as far as I know, I never hurt anybody, because I just, I would just drink until I couldn't see anymore, and then I would get behind the wheel.
That little caveat in there is actually kind of scary, like that I know of, because we were all so fucked up. We might not have known.
Right. I used to say, that I never did, that nothing bad ever happened, but the truth is that I don't actually know.
Jesus, that's terrifying.
Yeah, and I was a good student, so I looked good on the outside, and I could run around when my mom was at work and drink with my friends after school and go out on the weekends and drink. So through high school, I was pretty loaded as often as I could be. And it wasn't fun unless there was alcohol, which is so weird because there are so many other things to do in life, but nothing was good unless there was alcohol. And then as soon as I can, when I graduated from high school, I moved away and tried to, find myself or whatever. I grew up in LA and I moved to San Francisco. And well, it was a good move, except that then I was completely unsupervised. And so I just, I was trying to make friends and trying to be cool and trying to come out because I'm gay. And all of that was very confusing and freaking me out. And so I just drank and drank and drank and drank and drank and vomited and kind of hated myself. My MO is to find lower companions so that I look good. So everywhere I go, I always find the people that are really fucked up and I drink and use with them, which is, it's dangerous. It's dangerous for a young woman to be hanging out with lower companions in a variety of places. So there's this woman, Gail. I can't tell my story without mentioning her. She was the lower companion, and she was so bad that she got kicked off of public transportation in San Francisco. So you've got to be bad for that to happen.
Oh, that's terrible.
And
no more trolley rides?
Oh. What's that? No more trolley rides? Yeah. She was just, she was an obnoxious, messy drunk. And nobody wanted her around, but I could drink with her comfortably and I could, talk shit about her to other people, but, she was the problem, not me. And she tried to kill herself probably more than once, but on this particular occasion, she ended up at San Francisco General and the good people of Alcoholics Anonymous came to visit her. And Gail got sober. She did not stay sober, but I watched her change and I saw her, she was smiling and she was funny and her skin was glowing and her eyes were bright and she cleaned her apartment. Like a lot of things changed in her life. And I stopped hanging out with her because it made me uncomfortable.
Yeah, she's a downer. She's a buzzkill. Gotta get rid of her.
Total downer. And I have a whole slew of disgusting stories that I could tell you, but we don't have a lot of time. So instead, I'll just say that I wanted to be good. I wanted to be funny and cool, and I wanted to have friends. And what happened instead was that I was an empty shell, and my actions didn't match my intentions. And once I started drinking, I didn't know what was going to happen. And I had some people in my life who thought they were my friends, but I felt like a big fucking fraud because nobody knew me. I didn't know me. I didn't know anything about me because I was so cut off from myself and my feelings. But one night, so my last night drinking there was nothing interesting about it at all. All the good stories come before that. But my last night drinking, I was in a bar drinking Miller Genuine Draft in a bottle.
Ooh,
that was my thing.
So classy.
Smoking Marlboro 100s. And looking around at these people, some of whom thought they knew me, and feeling like, is this it? Is this fucking it? And, there had been many occasions before then where I said I didn't want to drink, or I said tonight I'm going to just get off work and I'm going to go home and I'm going to feed my cat and go to bed early and whatever, tonight I'm going to not sleep with somebody else's boyfriend or girlfriend. Tonight I'm going to not steal from work, to, just whatever, like making myself promises. And then at the end of the day, I had forgotten how shitty I felt in the morning. And I would just do the same thing. And I couldn't not. I didn't know how to not. And anyway, on that last night, I left that bar and drove home, likely drunk. And I called fucking Gail. And Gail took me to an AA meeting the next day. It was the High Noon group in San Francisco. And there was a circle of chairs on a hardwood floor with nothing, no armor in between us. And I don't think I introduced myself as a newcomer because I had been to a ton of meetings with my grandma. I already know. I know all your prayers. I know what
okay.
shit you're gonna say.
You're a seasoned vet at that point.
I'm a seasoned vet. Can't you tell? And I think I drank after that meeting because anybody who says just don't drink and go to meetings, don't go to meetings and don't drink in between, that doesn't make sense to me. Because if I could not drink in between meetings, I wouldn't need meetings. I wouldn't need you people. So I think I drank after that, but I went back to the High Noon group a couple of days later. And that would have been October 27th of 1992. And honestly, I didn't know if I was an alcoholic or not, but I knew that when I went to that meeting the first time, there were people who were laughing and they were warm and I felt like they saw me in a good way, not in a terrifying way, but like they saw me and they welcomed me. There was some woman who was telling a story that I would never, ever say out loud in a meeting right now, but like she was talking and nobody kicked her out. And I just felt like there was something there. There was something there in that place that I wanted. And there was a really cute girl sitting in the chair next to me.
always, hey, it's attraction totally rather than promotion.
Yeah, I was totally willing to come back and get to know her.
That was a good one.
By the way, I'll have you know that we dated for a few months.
But, fantastic. Good for you.
Yeah, thank you. But there was something there and I kept coming back. And I am so grateful that I got a sponsor right away. And I've had a sponsor for 29 years, not the same one, but a sponsor for 29 years. My sponsor that I have currently, I've had for, God, I don't know, 13, 14 years. I started studying the literature. I started working the steps. I started to believe in some power greater than myself, and who the fuck knows what that is. I know what it's not, but it's not me. And I've been in it. I sponsor women. I'm totally invested and involved, and I love my sober lifestyle. I never want to graduate. I never want to graduate from AA because it's my purpose. It's my calling. It makes me useful. It makes me feel like I'm part of something bigger. And I get to constantly work on my shit, like it's brainwashing. Anybody who tells you differently is lying. I needed my brainwash.
Yeah, absolutely.
I needed my brainwashed. I needed to have some tools, some rules, I use that word loosely, some rules for living. I needed direction. I needed to be around people who were not who were not trying to kill each other. I needed to be around people who knew how to be gentle and kind and honest and sincere and authentic and transparent. I learned all of that in AA. And now I'm the most fucking amazing version of myself that I could ever have imagined. And that there are a lot of variables in play, but if I were not clean and sober, I have no idea where I would be right now. My guess is it's not good. In fact, I have a therapist who really thinks, based on what he knows about me, that I should be a crack whore. Now, I'm not disparaging sex workers. That's totally cool if that's what you want or need to do. But I'm not doing that, and I'm glad that I have choices, because I think I didn't. For a long time. I don't know. A long time is relative. In the beginning of my life, I didn't have choices. The only thing I knew how to do was to act out and to try to make my insides feel better. And when I didn't drink, I wanted to peel my fucking skin off. So alcohol was the solution for me until it wasn't anymore.
Mm-hmm. All right. Well, we definitely.
I'm done.
Okay, that's fantastic. We definitely have some questions for you. I will go first.
As it was written.
Mm-hmm.
As it was written. Nice. No, I normally ask everybody kind of like very
you like that answer
respectfully.
Though,
yes, I did.
Yeah.
Or like I ask everybody, would anybody like to go first? When I always go first, so I'm not doing that today. Fuck all you. Okay, so I'm going to start with a fun question. It's a two-parter. So you grew up in LA and now you're in San Francisco to now Chico, California. So are you a Northern California girl or a Southern California girl?
That's a great question. So I am planning a move currently. Because I think I'm a city girl.
Okay.
Oh.
And by city, I mean any urban setting. And I've been here sticking it out until my daughter graduates from high school, which is in June, since 1998. And this is pretty rural. I mean, there's a college here, so it makes it a little more jumping.
So it's
okay.
A college? Is it a college town? Is that
Chico
what it
is a college town. Yeah.
Okay. All right.
So I'm an urban girl.
Okay.
Northern or Southern doesn't matter. I'm actually thinking I'm going to New York City. So.
Oh, wow.
Oh, wow. And that actually segues perfectly into the second part of my question. What do you find weird about East Coast people?
Did you say weird?
Yeah. What do you think is weird or funny about East Coast people?
I don't think that East Coast people are weird or funny.
Oh, wow.
Oh, burn.
That is.
You aren't funny, motherfucker.
You answered it by not answering it. We are not weird or funny on the East Coast. Okay, that's fair.
You gotta live in Portland to be weird, right?
I guess.
Or Austin, you know.
I don't know.
I think that I'm gonna meet my people. I'm gonna move to New York City though. So New York City's like
there's plenty of weirdos in New York.
Have you ever been to New York City?
East in general.
Have you ever been to New York City?
Yes, I have been to New York City, not for extended stay, but for visits.
Okay.
And not in the winter time.
Oh yeah, that's a big change. Big change. Get a coat.
That is a big.
And
big change.
Okay, now to my real question.
Okay.
So it's really like a 3-parter.
Well, it was fun. It was fun questions.
16-parter.
It's a 16-part question. Yes, exactly. There's a syllabus. Did you get the syllabus?
You can just ask all of them.
Okay. I'll do that. Okay. Yeah. Just take 5. So you mentioned that you are gay. So
yeah.
In your addiction, like coming up, because you were all like you got clean young, so obviously you used even younger. Did your sexuality or any of that play a part in your addiction?
Oh God, yes. So here's a quick story. That girl that I was drinking warm beer with on the railroad tracks, she was my first crush. And I just adored her. And we spent the night together once. We had a bottle of Jack Daniels and we were on the flat roof of her dad's garage. And a lot of things can happen with 2 drunk girls on the flat roof of a garage.
Yes.
And the next day, she all of a sudden had a boyfriend. And I totally got the message that, and we didn't talk about it. And so I totally got the message that there was something wrong or bad. And that, I think, was a huge catalyst for, I mean, I was going to be a drunk regardless.
Yeah.
But that was a huge catalyst for, okay, what I feel is wrong. I better not feel it. And so drugs and alcohol played a huge part in me, like, stuffing that and fucking boys.
Boys are gross.
Boys, I'm sorry. Boys are totally gross.
Oh, I know. I'm one of them. I know. I'm fucking nasty as hell. Okay. Now let me turn it over to the better half of the podcast, Carly.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, David took
Yes,
my
he said.
first question.
I'm sorry.
It's okay. Now I'm just trying to word how I'm asking this follow-up question. So I don't know. Now I'm stuck.
Do you have another question? What?
Nope. Go ahead. Back
No?
to David.
Back to me? Oh,
Yeah.
no.
No. I'll step in. Don't worry, David. You don't have to go. I do have a follow-up question to the one about coming out. So I find something interesting. I know we had someone on the podcast a long time ago now, which is weird to say.
I know.
Who was also gay, and I remember just like hearing her talk about people now and how the perception of the LGBTQ community has changed dramatically since the 90s. What are some of the things that you're seeing kind of in today's world that you maybe, like, I know we don't want to look back and be like, I wish this could have been this way, but would have helped you, I think, a little bit more in understanding who you were and like accepting that.
And thereby potentially changing my addiction?
Possibly. I don't know.
Yeah.
This is an open-ended question. So I mean,
All
you could still, be a drunk, but like you might not be, that's an open-ended path, but how do you think living in today's world, like at that age, would have formed you differently?
Ooh.
Well, I think that as time goes on, our culture is more polarized. Ooh, I'm going to get all political. Our culture is more polarized, right? So in some cases, it's so much easier to be queer. Like, my kid is non-binary and has no fear or concern about talking about that.
Yeah.
I've been an educator in 16 years of my adult life, and I make space for queer kids and marginalized kids in public schools, and I see more availability of services, and in general there's more visibility and representation. So those things that were not available to me growing up are more now, but also there's more backlash, right? There are people who are pissed off about that.
Oh yeah.
So depending on what family I'm born into or what community I live in, it could be better or it could be worse.
Yeah.
I think that I was going to drink no matter what, because I was so uncomfortable in my own skin, and I didn't have the ability to communicate my feelings. I didn't know what my feelings were, like physical or emotional. It wasn't until I came into a 12-step program, until I came into AA, that somebody said, "Oh, that what's happening to you right now? You're hungry. You need to eat." What the fuck? I thought I was just a bitch, but really, I get low blood sugar. And low blood sugar, I eat a little protein, and my life is better. So I got off track, but I learned everything I know in AA and from other sober people. And so I think I was going to drink anyway. I was going to use anyway, because I didn't have these like really healthy coping skills.
Yeah.
As far as being queer goes, I think that as for me, like my home group is may I plug my home group?
Absolutely, please do.
So my home group is a virtual group. Thank God for the pandemic, because I now have like sponsees on the East Coast.
Cool.
But my home group is called Queers, Crackpots, and Fallen Women.
That is an amazing name for a group.
Yeah, it's a great group, and it happens 7 days a week, 6:30 p.m. Pacific time, and we have a Facebook group, so anybody who wants to join can just start off there.
Will you repeat that one more time so we can write that down?
I would love to. Queers, Crackpots, and Fallen Women. There's a group on Facebook that people can join. They must answer some questions to become members of that group. And then there's access to our login information and the different themes of every night. Monday night is the night that I'm there every week, and it's the Living Sober group. Living Sober book, by the way, was written by a gay man, one of the first out gay men in AA.
Huh. I did not know that. All right. Well, fantastic. Carly, over to you.
Yes, I was able to get my words figured out. So,
okay.
So when were you able to accept your sexuality, and how did that acceptance come about?
So I came out right before I got sober, which, you know, I think moving to San Francisco was helpful. Not so much because it's like the gay mecca.
Yeah,
but
I'm just about to say that.
Because I was able to get away from my previous life, and just be raw and figure out who I was. So I went to San Francisco, I came out, but then I also drank much more heavily and sloppily because
good adjective.
It made me anxious. Coming out made me anxious. And and so I was very messy. My bottom came up and slapped me in my face, and then I went to meetings. I've already forgotten, Carly, what the question was.
Getting comfortable with your
sexuality. So how did the acceptance of your sexuality come about?
Yeah, so I think, you know, I was surrounded by visible queer people, and I felt more comfortable in my own skin. Actually, when I first started going to AA, I went to gay AA meetings.
I didn't know there were gay AA meetings.
What?
I didn't know there were gay AA meetings.
Oh, yeah. There are.
Is it just called gay AA?
People's meetings. There are women's meetings. There are gay meetings. There, you know. But my first home group was a lesbian AA meeting, which was fucking heaven. But before that happened, I went to gay men's meetings in the Castro.
Oh.
Because, and they let me. They like, pat me on the head and let me stay. But I was trying to figure my shit out, you know, and I'm a person at that time. I'm a person without a soul who doesn't have an opinion or a thought of my own, who lets people use me in every way possible, who just wants to drink and use. And if you want to fuck me, okay, where's my beer? And so I had to be in a place where that was not going to be an issue for me.
Yeah.
And so gay men's meetings were fucking perfect.
Yeah, that's perfect.
Yeah. And actually my very first sponsor, his name was Tom C. And he didn't have any idea what to do with me. I was a wreck mess. And he just, like, I was his new puppy, you know. He just kind of took me around with him everywhere. He let me hang out at his house while he did his dishes, and he had these spiritual angel cards that I would read, and, you know, maybe read some AA literature. Like, we didn't work the steps or anything. He just gave me space to be safe.
Oh, that's awesome. That's awesome. All right. Totally switching gears. You talked about very briefly, so childhood trauma. How have you dealt with your childhood trauma in recovery? And I know you talked about therapy, so like any methods there are absolutely free for discussion. But how have you like worked through that and gotten to where you are today?
So I think that everybody experiences some kind of trauma, like varying degrees of trauma, and not to sensationalize, but I do want to say, like, I watched my mom get stabbed in the head by my stepdad.
Oh, like, my God.
He molested me.
Jesus.
We didn't have power sometimes. We shit was bad.
Yeah.
And I am, I'm a cute white girl, so I have lots of privilege in the world. And if I just showed up to wherever with a smile on my face, people told me how good and cute I was. And so I went through a bunch of years being the good student, smiley good student. That's my armor, right? That's how I keep people away.
Yeah.
Smiley good student, everything's fine. And I started to unravel in high school, and I asked my mom if I could go to therapy. And I joined this like therapy group for kids. Some little short white bus came and picked me up after school and took me to this group. But I was a cute white girl with a smile on my face, and so I got discharged pretty quickly.
Yeah.
So I hide my trauma. And it wasn't until I got sober and started to work the steps that I started uncovering things and being introspective. And I love the steps.
Yeah.
And I don't always like the whatever, it's an old book written by old straight white professional men, Christian. It's not necessarily my thing, but I love what it did for me, and I love what it does for people. So working the steps is the beginning. It's my jumping off place. It's what I always return to. But I also worked a lot of shit out in therapy. I've had various therapists. I've once I've done all the therapy that I feel like I can do, and I've processed all of that, then I've had life coaches who are forward facing and goal oriented, and I'm really transparent. So for me, talking about my shit has saved me. Talking about it, and I'm not taking out billboards or anything, but I know that my story makes me useful. And so I share at meetings. I have sponsees with whom I'm very open and honest. I have close friends who know everything about me, because I think when I expose that stuff to the sun, I'm only as sick as my secrets, right? I expose it to the sun, and it's smaller, it's less painful, it's less dangerous than when it's stuck inside of me. And it's become my life's work. Like, I'm a life coach, and I work with women to build confidence, and that's we talk about that stuff. I'm a powerful, strong, amazing fucking person. I think that might be the second time I've told you that, but it's super true.
Oh yeah,
and
it is.
I want to share that. I want to share that with other women. I want to share that and help everybody feel like they're not fucked up, we spend so much time hating ourselves from our trauma, and there is a way through to the other side.
That was such a magnificently beautiful answer. I just want to say I love you. Thank you for coming on the podcast.
I love you too. I love you all.
All right, Carly, what do you got?
Are we going back in order? Does Eric have another question?
No, fuck Eric.
I just jumped in,
Yeah, no. I wanted to give you another opportunity to do so.
Oh, well, you're nicer than me.
Yeah, that's obvious.
I love you too, Carly.
Oh, so what would you consider the greatest gift that recovery has given you?
Oh. Oh.
Deep sigh.
Deep sigh.
Yeah, it's a great question, because greatest gift implies that there's one that sticks out more than the other.
You can only pick one.
That's not true. That is not true.
It's not my question. It's Carly's question. Yep.
Well, okay, so the greatest gift is that I woke up in my own bed this morning and I didn't have to rake vomit out of my hair.
Always solid.
And I didn't say, fuck, I have to do this again. That's the greatest gift. It's that I don't hate my life. I don't hate myself. But there are so many more.
That's okay.
Oh, yeah,
share
keep
them.
going. Yeah.
Okay. I have community, and I have a sense of myself, and I have, like, I show up when I say I'm going to show up, and I do what I say I'm going to do, and I don't end up, at the end of the month, like, where the fuck is all my money? And I don't have fucking assholes in my life. I mean, not today anyway.
Yeah.
I have, really deep, intimate connections with other human beings. That's the shit right there.
Hell yeah.
I was alone. Even in a room full of people. I was alone, and I was lonely, and I was afraid, and I didn't belong anywhere, and I didn't like myself. And then I continued to do things that made me not like myself more. And I had terrible self-esteem, and just, how I feel about myself is the greatest gift, because I'm not doing things that make me hate myself anymore.
Yeah. That's fantastic. All right. I have one final question for you.
Dun, dun, dun.
Dun, dun, dun. So what was your biggest challenge in sustaining long-term recovery? Because that's a big thing. Like, a lot of people can get a day, a lot of people can get a month, a year, 5 years, but 29, that's special. So, like, what was the biggest thing, like, that you had to overcome to, like, keep it fresh and keep coming back and recovering?
Okay, so that makes me think of two things. One is that I have just stayed.
Yeah.
I go to, I don't know, 1 to 3 meetings a week for 29 years. I mean, in the beginning, I went to 2 and 3 meetings a day because that's what I needed. But for the duration, I go to 1 to 3 meetings a week, regardless of whatever else is going on in my life. So I stay connected. I have sponsees so that my drinking life is fresh in my mind, because I would forget.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's been a long time. And so working with others helps me remember. And I've always had a sponsor that I stay connected with, who helps me, with the continued part, steps 10, 11, and 12, where I continue to do these things that I do. So that's one answer to the question. The other thing that I was thinking of is that what brings me the most pain in my sober life is romantic relationships.
Oh, well, that's everybody.
Not the relationship itself, because that tends to be great, but when it ends. So I have had 4, what I would consider 4 major relationships in my sobriety. And when each of those 4 have come to an end, has been the most wickedly painful times for me. The times when I have come closest to wanting to check out, whatever that looks like, whether it means, getting high. Like, I married a woman who was a substance abuser, and at the end I thought, well, maybe if I got high with her, that would make it better.
Yeah.
And so there was that. And then, my most recent breakup, I was crawling around on the floor and crying in my house by myself, like,
oh yeah,
in so much agony. And it's during those times where I'm in such emotional upheaval and I want to make it stop that I think I'm rubbing up closest to drinking or using.
Yeah.
And so what I do during those times is I don't crawl into a corner and experience it all by myself. I go to my people and I talk about it, even if I've said the same fucking thing over and over and over again. Even if I go to the meetings and I'm crying in front of everybody, even if I put my soul on display. I just lay it all out there, because when I share it, it makes it lighter.
Yep. Absolutely.
And that's, I think, how I maintain long-term sobriety. Like, I just keep showing up and telling the truth, even when I don't look good doing it.
Yeah, absolutely. And one thing that brought to my mind is one of the quotes that I heard that has been tremendously helpful is, all those times that I've felt like literally I'm like so emotionally or psychologically overwhelmed that like my life is going to end and I cannot go any further. I have survived 100% of those moments up to this point.
Yes.
And like that, like when I heard that, I was like, oh, wow. And it really gave me like a sense of strength and resilience and perseverance and dedication towards recovery, that it's like, wow, right. Even when things have seemed their darkest in their past, I got through it, and I'm here, and I'm standing here, and I'm kicking fucking ass.
And I can do it again.
Fucking
but
right.
Isn't it true that when you're in it, it feels like it's never gonna end?
That brings me to my next point, which Eric's gonna fucking hate. What's my favorite? One of my favorite quotes, Eric. It's because the fish in the bowl doesn't know that it's wet. It's not stupid. It's a great quote, man. When you're just so immersed in everything, you don't even know what's around you.
Wait, will you repeat it? I didn't hear it.
So the fish in the bowl doesn't know that it's wet.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you. I love that quote. It makes sense to me. Eric hates it.
I just think it's a fucking stupid quote.
I think you're fucking stupid, Eric.
Eat the fucking fish.
Yeah, eat the fish. Fuck you. Carly, do you have a final question? No? Final statement? Final thought? Okay. All right. Well, I think you are finally off the hot seat, Dawn. So we would like to thank you for joining us today.
Woo! Thank you so much. It was a pleasure.
Absolutely. And we're going to give you one quick minute to talk to anybody out there listening who is struggling, needs to hear a message of hope and strength. What do you have to say to that person?
Oh, God. That you're not alone. Mm-hmm. And when I was in all of my craziness, I didn't pick very good people. Mm-hmm. So I can't just say, like, go share with someone else, because you might not have someone else to share with. But in the rooms of AA, I have found the right people to share with.
Awesome. All right. Well, here at Podcast Recovery, we are aiming to expand the scope of support for recovering addicts. Accessibility and convenience of helpful services is paramount to combating addiction. We work to bring the message of recovery to every addict, wherever and whenever it is needed. We believe that a powerful voice of recovery should be obtainable, practical, and at the touch of a button. Every addict deserves to hear a message of hope, and Podcast Recovery is here to provide it. All right, everybody, thanks for joining us once again. Make sure you go to all of our social media outlets, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and like, share, subscribe. And if you'd like to become part of the Podcast Recovery family, please help us out in our Patreon, because we are self-sustaining and we need help keeping the mics on, and you guys are the people who do it, so we appreciate that very much. But yeah, so thank you everybody for joining us, but most importantly, everybody out there, Carly,
stay safe and stay clean.
Thank you.